All right, the official preseason top 25 coaches poll is out, and is South Carolina getting disrespected a little bit by the coaches around the country? We talk about it and more. Locked On Gamecocks starts right now.
You are Locked On Gamecocks, your daily podcast on the South Carolina Gamecocks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, guys? Welcome into Locked On Gamecocks. I'm your host, Chris Marler, or Loke Ed on Gamecocks Podcast. As the sign still says, we're going to find that missing K. But first, we're going to download this episode. And I appreciate you guys, all of you, downloading this episode and listening to it or viewing it on YouTube, whatever. Thank you for making Locked On Gamecocks your first listen each and every day. Shout out to our everydayers. Remember, we're a free and available podcast wherever you get your podcast, as well as on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode brought to you by, drumroll please, brought to you by our friends at Game Time. You guys have heard me talk about Game Time before. You're going to hear me talk about them again. You guys know the drill. Listen, download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, all capital letters, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms and conditions apply, but head on over to the Game Time app today. We have a great show for you today. I'm very fired up. And I don't think there's a single typo on the side here, which is news we love to see. My voice is slowly but surely coming back. I've got a handful of cough drops and 87 water bottles over here next to the desk. So we're ready to go. Coaches poll comes out today. So we're going to start there, talk about the update of the title odds as well in the SEC. And are teams sleeping on South Carolina? Yes, no, somewhere in between. Let's get into it. So the coaches poll comes out today. I find it so funny that we spent the entire offseason hearing coaches and media and all these other people, but especially coaches from around the country that took their pot shots at the SEC saying, oh, they don't play anybody. And Kurt Cignetti, and we just took an SEC approach to our scheduling. We got FCS teams and blah, 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 blah. And what do you know? The coaches poll comes out, and not only does the SEC have the most top 25 teams involved with 9, which the second most had 6 from the Big Ten, but also the most in the top 10 with 4 as well. So where does South Carolina fall? 13th, 6 spots higher than they did where they ended the season a year ago. I'm looking through the AP poll and where they have started out. I know this is the coaches poll, but I'm just going to go through the AP. Listen, if you don't think this is a big deal, you have become, I wouldn't say part of the problem, but you have become a part of a time in Gamecock football where we could be taking stuff for granted. Listen, since 2010, South Carolina has finished the season, this is again AP poll, ranked 6 times, okay? And that's great. But this is the first time since 2014 that South Carolina has started the season ranked in a preseason poll. Or at least, okay, maybe I'm wrong with that because I haven't seen the coaches poll numbers on here. Maybe I shouldn't have gone ahead of myself there. But at least in comparison to the AP poll, it's been over a decade. Pepper's in here. She's pumped. Get over here, bud. It's been over a decade since they've started out a preseason where they were ranked in the top 25. So another tip of the cap to Shane Beamer, another sign that this program is headed in the right direction, right? We love to see all that. 13th is also it would be tied. This is crazy, but it would be tied for the highest they have ranked in a poll during the season, before, during, or after. It would be tied for the highest. They've been ranked there since 2014 when they started out the year at 9. That was the highest they were at 9. Remember, that was the year where Kenny Trill showed up and put up like 1,000 yards on this defense. First game of the year, I think it was like a Thursday night. It was the first game of the SEC Network or something crazy like that. Wild times that are no longer a part of this program. But 13th. I started the show by saying, are people sleeping on USC? So here's the thing, man. I really thought, and I said this last year multiple times, one of the things I felt very confident about was when you look at the preseason, whether it be Lindy's, Athlon, Phil Steele, any of that kind of stuff, where this team was going to be preseason ranked, I felt very strongly about the fact that it was going to be ranked in the top 15. And listen, you end up 19th last year after a 9-4 season. That seems wildly low and kind of stupid, if we're being honest. But for a program that's only finished ranked twice over the last 11 seasons, that's pretty damn good, man. Like, to start out at 13, and it shows you what the rest of the country thinks of this program and of this team specifically. I want to go through the teams that are ahead of you. Texas, of course, first. Ohio State, defending national champs, haven't played a game, which means they haven't lost a game. They are second. Penn State, 3. Not sure what the love is there. They have a lot coming back, some great pieces. They added Jim Knowles, who was the Ohio State defensive coordinator a year ago. But how many times do we have to see this story played over and over before we finally get it? Like Penn State is Jurassic Park, okay? Penn State is Jurassic Park. How many times do we have to have the same movie made? And I love those movies, but how many times do we have to sit here and say, you know what, man, Penn State, they got a great quarterback, good running back, offense should be good. Only got 2 ranked opponents this year. They got to have a whiteout game in in Happy Valley. Like, man, I'm not really feeling Penn State. Okay, guess what happened, guys? You went to a deserted island. You sat there and messed around with T-Rexes and other dinosaurs, and now you're running for your life. Again, it's the same story over and over. I know I'm yelling. I know I'm clapping. It's probably a lot to deal with, but I'm fired up today. Georgia, 4. Notre Dame, 5. Clemson, 6. 7. Oregon. 8. Alabama. 9. LSU. 10. Miami. 11. Arizona State. 12. Illinois. I'm giving the finger off camera. 13. South Carolina. 14. Michigan. 15. Ole Miss. 16. SMU. Florida, Tennessee, 17 and 18. Indiana, 19th. Kansas State, 20. And then it's 21 is Texas A&M. Iowa State, 22. BYU, Texas Tech, and Boise State rounding out 23 through 25. I got a lot of takeaways on this. And like the first thing I looked at when I wanted to see where South Carolina was ranked was, where's South Carolina ranked? Question 2, where's Clemson? They're at 6. I think that's way too low, to be honest. If we're starting out the year with where they should be, listen, it's a long way till when they come to Williams-Brice. And I've told y'all before, I don't think they leave Williams-Brice with a dub against South Carolina as of today. But going into the season, that's who I would have at number 1 with the talent that they have. And also because it would be fun to watch them fall. There's that, if we're being honest. But the second thing I looked at was this. Who all that's ranked ahead of South Carolina is on that schedule? And I'm looking at it right now, and there's only 2. Think about that in comparison to other years. Think about that in comparison to other years of like how many teams, not only how many ranked teams they're going to have to face, because they got to face 5 still, right? You still got on that schedule, you still got A&M, you still got Ole Miss. Am I missing somebody? You still got Ole Miss, Bama, LSU, and Clemson. So there's actually 3 that are ahead of them, 2 in the SEC, and then obviously the game against Clemson. But man, you don't get Georgia. You don't have Texas. You're ranked up high, so it's like it's not like you're having to fight your way from 24 and then look at, man, we got A&M ahead of us. Tennessee, like the gone are the days of being the SC East, and you've got Tennessee, Florida, Georgia, and then, oh, by the way, in the cross divisionals, we got to play LSU, Bama, and A&M. Like, you don't have that. So you play 5 ranked teams overall. Only 3 are ranked ahead of you. I like that. The question I asked at the top of the show, did the coaches disrespect South Carolina? I don't think they did. And listen, guys, you guys know me well enough too. A few things I love: typos, apparently never learning to say someone's name correctly, and then 3, I love a chip on our shoulder, man. At South Carolina, like, I love having a chip on our shoulder. I don't have it as much with this. I feel good about this. being at 13, right smack dab in the middle of that top 25, that feels about right. It also tells me maybe that trip to College Station isn't as big of a insurmountable obstacle as I thought. And right now the biggest obstacle we have is trying to figure out where this K is so we can put Locked On Gamecocks in the podcast. Also figure out an offensive line and 3 starters at linebacker and figure out your receiving depth. But man, I feel a lot better about this. And this is one of the few times where I feel like I don't feel completely disrespected. Now, I will tell you, there are some rankings that are going to come out with the AP poll where that feeling is going to change. That feeling is going to change. And we'll get into that in a minute when we come back. Now, before we go to break, I would be remiss to not tell you, I guess, about our friends at 5 Hour Energy. Let me tell you something right now. 5 Hour Energy has got a new flavor. It's called Transfusion, okay? Time to fuel up and turn it up with the 5 Hour Energy Transfusion. It brings the bold grape, ginger, and lime flavor of your favorite golf drink, minus the alcohol, into a quick, energizing shot. Whether you're seeking birdies or just making memories with friends, this one's a hole-in-one for your energy game. Let's be honest, some days on the course or off of it, right? You just need a little extra boost to stay sharp and energized. I took one today. Now, I couldn't find the Transfusion flavor, so I took another Tropical Breeze, which, as I told you about, I took it last night. Took another one today. Feeling pretty good. You guys hear the pep in my step and the boom in my voice. We love it. We love it. We love it. Looking at golf, some of the things that they ask us at this job, what are your favorite golf memories? I don't really have a favorite golf memory. I will tell you this. I watched a new show this week called Stick. It's on Apple TV. Recommend it to anybody. Great show. Great show. Owen Wilson's in it. Very uplifting. Really, it's a great show. But regardless, golf is about good times with good people, good flavors. Of course, the grape, ginger, lime flavor that this shot gives you, it's the best parts of your clubhouse go to without chasing down the bev cart. We love that. I'll tell you what, if you go to 5hourenergy.com today, that is number 5, hourenergy.com, you can use my promo code, which is Locked On Golf, all one word, all capital letters, Locked On Golf, to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. The code is not good on subscription orders. Whether you're meeting up with friends or trying to turn 18 holes into 36, get the energizing boost you need to power through. Order Transfusion flavored 5 Hour Energy shots today. All right. We'll be right back with more Locked On Gamecocks. All right, we're back. All right. So, again, going through the rest of this top 25, there's the coaches poll. I feel like is a good gauge of where a team stands, probably more than the AP. And here's why. There's a lot of people that feel like we shouldn't even have these polls, right? And I like until week 6. And the more I hear it, the more I'm like, I kind of don't disagree, but not because of bias or anything like that. It's mainly because I've always said this about covering college football and doing it with in the media and stuff like that. I don't have an AP poll vote. I don't have a Heisman vote. There's several awards I do get to vote on, which is really cool. But I don't want to vote on those things unless I am going to make sure I know what I'm talking about or at least have an informed opinion. Doesn't mean my opinion's right. Doesn't mean that my opinion is smarter than someone else's necessarily. Sometimes it probably is. But in the media, but if you look at the AP poll last year, there's multiple times that I went to war with people on Twitter when it's how the hell do you have South Carolina ranked 22nd after you beat A&M? How the hell do you have South Carolina ranked behind Clemson after they just beat them? I'm talking about a week after they just beat them. How does that happen? And it's there's inherent biases that go through the voting system, especially when it involves the human element. I get that. Now, the coaches poll, this poll, now we know what we know we know what we know. We don't know exactly how great every team's going to be or how good they're going to be and how much it's going to pan out versus like to what we put down on paper as the coaches poll going into 2025. But I do know that this is the most informed and the most all in and focused they're going to be. Because think about the what the coaches poll is. Like think about what it is. You're asking the day after or the day of you playing a game. Hey, coach, by the way, just a heads up. Like, no, you just played. I know you just had a game, whether you win or lost or whatever. That's a whole week of prep. Then that's a whole week of game planning. Excuse me. Then you got walkthroughs. You got on-campus visits if you're a home team. If you're away, you got travel. Say you're a late game, you got to travel back to wherever you came from. You got flights. You got jet lag. Then you got to come back to facilities. You got to come watch tape the next day because most people don't have Sundays off. Like practices might be off on Sunday, but like game film, tape, all that kind of stuff, planning out the week, looking ahead to other coaches. Like this grind doesn't stop for coaches. That sounds so cliche and stupid, but the grind does not stop for these coaches. So if you're telling me that I have a vote in the coaches poll, when do I get to watch all those other teams? Like you tell me when Dabo Swinney is watching Boise State or Texas Tech, right? Tell me when Dabo Swinney is locked in to seeing Kansas State play football. And I'm not calling out Dabo to call out Dabo. Like it could be the same for Beamer or Brian Kelly or Kirby Smart. Like Kirby Smart's the most focused person in America on his team. Do you think Kirby Smart's taking downtime to be like, oh, I really got to make sure I'm informed so I can make sure like that I know who my 21 through 25th ranked teams are in my coaches poll this week? No, that's stupid. He doesn't care about that. He's trying to recruit. He's trying to like close another deal, figure out like, hey, we got Texas coming up this week. I got to make sure I am like as focused as possible. And that's not saying that they all mail it in, but it's also like if the idea that these guys are super focused throughout the season on who their votes are going to and making sure it's the right one and they're going to lose an ounce of sleep over it. No. AP poll voters might because, you know, the way that media works, and I can attest this, and I try to not do it, but I'm sure there's times when I have done it, which is like nobody loves to hear their own opinion more than the media. And nobody loves like their predictions to be right more than the media. That part I can attest to. Like that's like, you know, you want to be right. So it's like there's a bias in there. But when I look at all the polls, you think like week 1 through week whatever, preseason to whatever, like until the postseason, there's not really a poll that's going to come out that's going to have more of an objective look at the country than this one, probably. And if I'm wrong and you guys have a different opinion, tell me because maybe I am glossing over something, but like it does seem that would make the most sense to me, at least in my small brain. So there's that. I will also tell you the AP poll is where I will lose my mind. And so I'm glad that we didn't have to do that because it's a nice Monday. We try to have nice Mondays, if that's even possible. But I look at like Brett McMurphy. He put out his AP poll the way he voted today on 3, and there was no South Carolina anywhere to be found. And that's where I'll have an issue because if you're trying to vote on something and say, well, this is where I think all the 25 teams are going to end up, okay, I guess there's an argument you can make there. Maybe South Carolina's schedule is so difficult that you know, that you don't think they're going to make the top 25. Okay. I could see your argument. But if you're talking about a preseason poll and the best 25 teams going into this country or going into this season, best 25 teams in the country, and you're looking at this roster with LaNorris Sellers and Dylan Stewart, what are the 2 most important positions on the effing field? Quarterback and edge rush? You arguably have the best 2 in the country. I know you lost a lot. I know you got a difficult schedule. You have a difficult schedule every year, man. What are we talking about? So my thing is looking at that's when I'll start to lose my mind. And we'll go over that when we go over it. It's not something that has to be discussed like right now. But I do think it's a little bit interesting just because of the fact that this poll specifically, like, listen, I know that Phil Steele does a tremendous job every year going through, his notes of like, here's who I think is going to be good. Here's who I think is going to be bad. Here's all my projections. Here's the most improved teams. Here's teams that are going to fall, blah, blah, blah. And let the chips fall where they may. Like, that's great. And like, no preseason magazine is ever just batting 1,000, right? Like, that's fine. But I will tell you that if you're looking for something where it's like, yeah, everyone's focus, and the ones that know the game the best, maybe that's what I should have said earlier. The ones that know the game the best, the coaches. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's probably this where you have the most focus and the best job of being able to lay this out there. All right, when we come back, I want to talk about the rankings themselves have now shifted the odds on who is going to win the SEC. So we're going to go back and look at what they were before versus what they are now, and have a gander at that when we come back. Before we go to break, I do want to give a shout out to our friends at Game Time. And man, tickets are flying for that game in Atlanta. I'm down here in Baton Rouge. I hope as many of you can get tickets as possible to go to Baton Rouge. You come on down here. There will be a beer on me, and we will have a grand old time down here, drinking, tailgating, celebrating, drinking these people's liquor, drinking these people's beer, and celebrating in their end zone after we beat their blank that Saturday night, come October 11th. Now, listen, Game Time. We've all been there, okay? I know the season's coming down, but we're talking right now about concerts. We've all been in this misery that I'm about to describe. Logging on early, waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot in line for a show you've been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. That's where Game Time comes in. Game Time makes going to concerts faster and easier than ever. Prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime, and you can save up to 60% off with their killer last-minute deals. If you're tired of endless scrolling, trying to find the best deal, Game Time's zone deals pick the best seats in your section for you. With Game Time, the price you see is the price you pay and the price you get. No hidden fees. Take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Remember, terms apply. But again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. When we come back, we'll close out the show and talk about the latest odds to win the SEC and where South Carolina falls in those odds. Locked On Gamecocks continues right after this. Oh, what was that? Why did I do that? All right, whatever. This computer's acting up. Let's get back to it. All right, let's close out today's show with a little bit of talk about the latest odds to win the SEC. Now, here's the thing. You want to get back to Atlanta. You've only been there once. You've only been there once in 2010. You lost to Cam Newton. We've talked about it pretty recently for some reason. I don't remember why. I am of the mindset, and I don't – listen, you want to win every trophy that comes in front of you. You want to win every game that comes in front of you. If there's a ring, if there's a trophy, I want that blank on my finger in my trophy case, point blank, period. But you do not need to win the SEC championship or even make it to the SEC championship and still win or get to the playoff. So I want 10 wins more than I want an SEC championship, right? It would be great, and I'll take both if they're on the table. But I want 10 wins so we can get to a playoff way more than I want to get to Atlanta. That being said, the latest odds for SEC teams to win the SEC championship this year have been updated now that the coaches poll has been out. So here are the updates. You have Texas plus 250. I think that's about the same. It might have been like plus 270 before. Georgia plus 300. That's up from plus 290. Bama plus 475. LSU plus 750. A&M plus 1,400. Ole Miss plus 1,600. South Carolina plus 1,800. I'm going to go back for a second. Now listen, here's the thing. Vegas is different, okay? Vegas is not telling you these are the best teams. Vegas is trying to get the most amount of money put on all these teams so they can make the most amount of profit from it, okay? A&M being at plus 1,400 does not tell me that Vegas knows something. It tells me, in this case, man, a lot of people must be betting on A&M. A lot of people must be betting on A&M. And whether that's right, wrong, or somewhere in between, I don't think Vegas is out here like, yeah, I got a great read out here in the desert on Marcel Reed and this team that goes 8-4 every year. I think this is the year. I'll also tell you what they have working in their favor is a schedule that is much, much easier than a lot of other teams in this conference. Now, they have the 5th best odds. Ole Miss has the 6th. It's at plus 1,600. Then there's South Carolina, plus 1,800. I'll tell you what it says on the On3 site. LaNorris Sellers, Dylan Stewart, those are 2 names you think of when discussing why South Carolina could be a competitor inside the SEC this season. It's tough to be a top dual-threat quarterback on one side, only to face an elite pass rusher when the possession flips over. South Carolina knows they have 2 of the best ready to cash in on their talents. Florida, plus 2,000. Tennessee, plus 2,200. Auburn, plus 2,200. And here are your remaining teams. Oklahoma, plus 2,500. Missouri, plus 4,000. That's not a bad bet. Arkansas, plus 15,000. Vandy, plus 30,000. Kentucky, plus 30,000. Mississippi State, plus 50,000. Now, also to be clear, I'm not saying that Mizzou is going to be a powerhouse this year, but their schedule is very, very easy and very, very manageable. It's sickening. But that is where you stand. You have the 7th best odds in the conference to win the SEC. You are going into a season, preseason ranked for the first time in a decade. And oh, ho-hum, it's the highest ranking you've had at any point of a season in the last decade. There's a saying from The Office, okay? And I know that I don't want this to be short-lived. I understand that things can go sideways this year or whatever. But there's a saying from The Office, and I hope that it applies to this team and this program. Andy said it on the very last episode in the finale, and he said, I wish there was a way to realize you were in the good old days. So you realize they were happening now. I'm paraphrasing. I'm doing a bad job of it. These feel like the good old days, guys. This may not feel like 2011 to 2013 yet, but this feels like we're at a much different time than we have been in the last decade. And that is something we celebrate the wins. I say it all the time. You celebrate the wins. Life is fleeting. There's a lot of stuff in college football that is tough to deal with and turnover and all the differences or different things and changes that are happening, especially the portal and NIL and all that kind of stuff. You celebrate the wins. And we haven't had one on the field yet. We're going to get one in about 26 days. But right now, this is a win. Appreciate you guys for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your Monday night and then have a good start to your Tuesday whenever you're listening to this. We'll be back for another episode tomorrow. And until then, as always, go Cox.